The Baltimore Ravens have finally made their NFL trade deadline move. Before we talk about that, I just want to say today's the election day, so go vote. I don't believe it's my place to try and tell you who to vote for, but vote for whoever you want, and vote on not just the presidential election, but also your local elections and measures and all of that stuff. But what I do think I'm capable of talking to you guys about is the Baltimore Ravens just made a trade for Davious White, two-time Pro Bowler, most notably for the Buffalo Bills, but he was playing for the Rams, and they said nothing. The Baltimore Ravens, according to Josina Anderson, who we all love, she's a great insider, especially when it comes to the Ravens. The Ravens traded a 2026 seventh round pick in exchange for Tre'Davious White and the Rams 2027 seventh round pick. So the Ravens pushed a seventh round pick 1 year back and are now getting a cornerback, which is a position that the Baltimore Ravens are in desperate need of having. One of the things about Tre'Davious White over the last couple of years is he's been struggling to stay healthy. And I apologize. I'm going to be looking stuff up during this. This happened within the last 3 minutes. I grabbed my camera, I grabbed my microphone, and we're starting this right now. But that was one of the issues. When he was in Buffalo, Tre'Davious White was not like oh yeah, this guy's a really good corner. No, Tre'Davious White was in number one cornerback in the NFL conversations. That's how good he was when he was in his prime. But you look up after his, best 2 years, 2019 and 2020, he played in 11 games, 6 game, 4 game, 4 game. 4 games so far this year, so it hasn't been a full season. But if he stays on the field, that's kind of been his biggest issue. But with what the Ravens gave up, essentially nothing, a seventh round pick next year, and they get a seventh round pick the next year. Like, come on, like, how valuable is that really? So, they didn't necessarily give up a lot. And they're getting a player that at the cornerback position, the Ravens need help. They absolutely need help. You look at what happened when we didn't have Marlon and Nate Wiggins, it was unbearable to watch. And I don't want to single out any players in particular that aren't playing very well. But when you look at the depth and the players that the Ravens are having to play consistently, they are not doing very well. Right? When we're forced to put out Jalen Armour-Davis, Arthur Millette, those are the guys that are struggling, right? Brandon Stevens is a good player. We just got to stop putting him on these contested catch makers. Put him on a route technician. That's where he's going to thrive a lot better because of his athleticism and reactions to quick cuts. That's where he specializes. I don't know why we continue to just put him on these big body wide receivers because, yes, Brandon Stevens is a big body, but that's what he struggles the most against. But Trey White this season so far, I mean, no interceptions. He's allowing 16.8 yards per reception, but he doesn't have a lot of targets. He hasn't played a ton this year. Let's not act like this is a player that is, a lockdown number one corner anymore, right? 13 targets this year. He's allowed 9 receptions. PFF has his overall grade at about a 50. You look at last year, he was a 68, 79 coverage grade. That's one thing about him. He's not a tackler at all. But really, I think Trey White is a drastic upgrade over cornerback 4 for the Ravens, right? And he can play. You can put him out there, and he's not necessarily the best player in the NFL anymore. But this is a trade that didn't cost very much and got the Ravens a player that will play and will contribute. And I'm going to look up Jalen Armour-Davis's stats just so that we can compare, because I want to know how he is performing. So Jalen Armour-Davis right now, this data is courtesy of PFF, if you guys didn't know. But Jalen Armour-Davis, as I'm pulling that up, he's been the player that the Ravens have substituted in for, fourth cornerback. If Brandon Stevens goes down for a play, if Nate Wiggins goes down for a play, he's the guy that's coming in. He's looking at 7 targets, 6 receptions allowed, 4 tackles, about a 56 grade. from PFF. So again, pretty similar in terms of overall production with him. But Trey White is somebody that I'm a little bit more confident because he has shown the ability throughout his career to get interceptions. He had an interception last year, and it just adds to a position room that needs a little bit more veteran leadership because right now we have Marlon, but all of our other corners that we're putting in coverage, maybe Arthur Millette, you could say, is an experienced veteran, but he's not necessarily in there because he's a great cover corner. He's in there because he's a fantastic blitzer. Like that's what Arthur Millette specializes in. Is he's great off the edge. But getting Trey White, an experienced guy, to go against these teams like the Cincinnati Bengals that have multiple really good wide receivers, I'm much more comfortable putting a vet against a T. Higgins, against a Jamar Chase, against an Andre Iosivas than I am putting, a player that's been on and off the roster for the last couple of years because Trey White is a respected corner in the NFL. And he is not, again, I want to say he is not the same player that he was prior to all of his injuries that he's had, but he still has the knowledge. He still has the ability to play. And hey, this is the first move. I hope they make a move for a pass rusher. But again, this is a no loss kind of move because the Ravens didn't trade a fourth round pick. If they want, they can still make a move for another player. But in reality, again, they traded a seventh for a seventh, and they got a player that was maybe going to be cut. I would assume he was probably getting cut by the Rams. And so the Ravens could have signed him in free agency also. They just wouldn't have gotten him on waivers. So this is a great move for the Ravens. Again, not a game-breaking, not a league-changing move, but it is a move that I think will help the secondary that has struggled, get some veteran leadership in there that also, I feel a little bit more comfortable with putting him on in isolation, putting him on an island for a couple of plays throughout the game. And as he gets his feet wet, hopefully he can stay healthy and, be that cornerback for the Ravens. Thank you all so much for watching. Subscribe for more. The Ravens have another move. I'm pretty much going to be sitting at my computer waiting for this trade deadline to happen. So if there's another move, I'll put out a video. Thank you. See you again next time.